Well, good morning, everyone, and thank you for taking the time to join us, and welcome to yet another edition of our Back to Business series, where we feature a newly elected member of Congress. What we do in these sessions is try to get to know them, the new members, as people first, learn more about who they are, where they're from, how they got to Congress, and what they're trying to accomplish. We don't dive too deeply into heavy-duty policy issues just yet. There'll be plenty of time for that in the years ahead. But the focus really is to start to build that personal foundation now that will lead to a strong working relationship later. I've long believed that one genuine relationship is worth a fistful of business cards. So with that as a goal, let me introduce today's guest, Congressman Andrew Garbarino. Congressman Garbarino represents the 2nd District of New York, which is out in the south central part of Long Island. He was elected last November in a pretty tumultuous year, and we were delighted to have endorsed him early on in the primary process. And fortunately, he won fairly handily. I believe it was 53 to 46%. And let's hope and work towards that being the smallest margin that he gets reelected in the years ahead. He serves on 2 really influential key committees, small business, which has done so much, particularly on the PPP program, to help a lot of the business community, particularly small business communities, stay afloat during the pandemic. And then the Homeland Security Committee, which just by the name alone speaks to the many controversies and challenges that committee has to deal with. So he can tell you more about his story than I can. So let me thank you, Congressman, for taking the time to join us, and I'll turn it over to you.
Oh, Jack, thank you so much. It's great to be here and speak to you this morning. And thank you so much for the support early on. I've always been happy to have the support of my local chambers of commerce and the people that work locally in my district. So I was very happy to have the USChambers Endorsement in my race last year, and we were successful because of it. Thank you very much.
Well, you're welcome. We were happy to do it, and glad it all worked out. So as a Long Island, I'm fairly familiar with Long Island. I grew up in northern New Jersey, so I kind of get the what it's like.
You got similar accents.
Exactly. Well, they don't have the harsh New Jersey accent that a lot of people bring. But in any event, in a lot of ways, it really is kind of a microcosm for America, all packed onto Long Island. And I know geographically, like I said, yours is South Shore Long Island. But give us a feel for the district, the people. What are their interests? What do they like? Is there a claim to fame for the district? And just kind of give us a little more color commentary on the people you represent.
Well, it's Long Islanders. We're an interesting breed. We we are. We work very hard during the day. A lot of small business owners out, especially in my district.
Yeah.
I think over 90% of the employers are small businesses.
Yeah.
In my district. But, we also like to enjoy ourselves. We have I think we have the best beaches in the world. I've traveled all over, and I've been to a lot of different beaches. And I think, Fire Island, the ocean over there, we have some the best beaches in the world. So, Long Islanders, they love to work hard, but they also love to enjoy themselves between, going out and enjoying our beaches or our local golf courses. It's something that we all grew up doing. I grew up sailing on the Great South Bay.
Yeah.
We're an interesting breed, though. We a lot of, the one thing that does divide us is there's a lot of Mets and a lot of Yankees fans out there. So
yeah,
I won't say which one I am.
Yeah,
I don't want to start a war, but
no, you don't want to do that. Yeah, but I know I get it. It's like the Hatfields and the McCoys. But like I said, it is kind of a fascinating district. And you're from a family of small business owners, right? Can you tell us a little bit about the nature of So that's a great experience, obviously, for serving on a small business committee. But tell us a little bit about your family interests.
Absolutely. My grandfather had a grocery store, Garbarino Brothers grocery store. I actually have hanging up on my wall here. I should grab the picture and show you. It's back in the 40s and 50s. He had a grocery store right in Sayville on Railroad Avenue. The building's still there. It was called Garbarino Brothers grocery store. He wasn't the only one. His brothers, one had one in East Islip. They actually started all the way on the western part of Long Island and in Brooklyn. And as the family moved out, one son would stop and work at whatever business they started. So there was a Garbarino's restaurant in Lynbrook that was part of the family, distant relatives, and my grandfather was the youngest, so he was the last one he was the last one that ran the Garbarino Brothers grocery store in Sayville, and that lasted for a very long time. He worked very hard being a grocer, and he was able to make sure that my father went to law school. My father went to Fordham Law. He came home, started a law practice in downtown Sayville. I then did the same thing. I went to Hofstra, came home, worked at the local family law practice, and then started my own practice with my own clients. But yeah, third generation. My uncle ran the local Potbelly Deli. Everybody in the family pretty much was in small business somewhat.
That's a great story. And you kind of touched on this a little bit, particularly from your grandfather. But tell us, what does a job mean for your community? We all know it's a place to go every day. You get a paycheck, but there's a lot more dimensions to a job for people, not only for that person, but for their family and the community. So give us a sense for what a job actually means to people.
Well, my district, it's a little split. I have a lot of people because I'm about 45 minutes to an hour outside of New York City. So we do have a lot of commuters that go into the city and work every day. Not as much now during COVID, but a lot of them travel in every day. But like I said, 90% of the jobs, over 90% of the jobs, according to the Small Business SBA, has said that 90% of the jobs in my district are from small businesses. So that means that people live locally, they work locally, and if they live locally and work locally, that means they're shopping locally. So every time a job is created, people, in the district, 9 out of 10 times that person lives in the community. So, this helps with community building. It helps other small businesses, when they stay local and spend money locally. So every one job in the district, every time a new job, it means a lot, from, like I said, all the money they're spending and staying local.
That's a really good point. It's really a kind of a multiplier effect, particularly now that, with the Amazon and, all the stuff, you can kind of just press a button and, purchase remotely, how much it really means to the community for people to actually shop locally. So that's a terrific story. I noticed in your education background, you were a classics major. So one of the things we like to ask new members is just to kind of understand a little bit more is what their favorite book is and why that's the case. And so I'm particularly interested, given your classics background. I would imagine. Don't limit yourself to
classics. It's very tough. Classics and history were I was a double major, classics and history. I loved ancient Rome. Reading on Caesar and some of the emperors. That's always very interesting to me. It's a little bit of a cop-out. I don't have an actual favorite book that I will go back and read again because I love nonfiction books. I like reading history books. So, it's tough to go back and, read them over and over again. So what I'll do is, and I get a lot of my recommendations from the Wall Street Journal. They have book reviews at the end of every daily paper almost. And a lot of them are history books or nonfiction books. And I'm currently reading right now that's called The Training Ground. It's a very good book. It actually talks about all these generals, Civil War generals, who all went to West Point, and they all ended up fighting on the same side during the Mexican-American War before. So it's a very interesting book, how they all learned and grew up together, and now they ended up fighting, and then they fought against each other in the Civil War. It's very interesting.
That is fascinating. I'm a big Civil War fan myself, and I read a lot of history too. So I get your point. I don't really go back and read history books because it's really nothing new to learn. But I'm always looking for different ones and ones with a different slant on the same sort of books that I'm reading. Yeah. So like I said, I read a lot of Civil War, and I wrote that down because that is an interesting story about about how all those generals went off. They were trained and they went off to fight each other.
Yeah, they all knew each other's secrets.
Yeah, well, it's remarkable.
Yeah.
So you kind of got to the end of your first quarter as a new member of Congress. Obviously, you got experience in the New York State legislature. This has been tumultuous, to put it mildly. Even your first week was tumultuous. Gives you a sense of your observations so far. What surprised you? Looking back on it, what do you think?
It's difficult. Coming from the state legislature in Albany 8 years, we spent a lot of time on the floor waiting to vote. They would call us into session. We'd sit on the floor and we'd have between 3 votes or 300 votes, depending if it was the end of session. Yeah. So we would you spend a lot of time talking to your fellow colleagues. Yeah. It's not the same here in Washington. Everybody's in their own offices and you get called over for a vote. And especially now during COVID, you get called over for a vote. It's open for 30 to 45 minutes until another vote is called. So not everybody's over there at the same time. So you really don't get to meet anyone. That's been disappointing. I've probably met maybe 25 Democrats. I've maybe met 30% or 40% of the Republican members. So there's a lot more people I have to meet. So COVID has definitely hurt hurt that aspect. But I love being in the legislature. I love the deliberative body. I love doing committee hearings. I really have enjoyed that so far. I wish we would do a little more in committee. I think right now the first couple of months have been slow. A lot of stuff has bypassed committee. I hope it does start up and things get back to normal where we have our committee hearings more. Yeah. We have our markups. We can do amendments. Right now it hasn't been going that way. So I'm looking forward to my more getting back to work, specifically on a bipartisan level. Which is why I joined the Problem Solvers.
Yeah. Yeah, you touched on a number of points that really resonated with me and the chamber. We're looking forward to that too. But just in terms of my own personal experience, in a couple of my jobs ago, I spent pretty much the 80s and 90s as a House of and back when members would go to the floor, just hang out a lot. And you're right. That's really how you form a lot of really good relationships. And unfortunately, that just can't happen.
I still have made some good friends though, which I am lucky. Couple, John Tack of State New York has taken me under his wing. He gave me a great rankership he gave me a great rankership of the cybersecurity subcommittee. Rodney Davis, Dave Joyce, these guys who've been here for a while have been very good to me since. Well,
that's good to know because we work closely with them too, and we think highly of them as well. Yeah. I'll turn over to Heather. Heather Bichetti is with us from the Business Council of New York State. Heather, do you have a question or any comments you want to make?
First, I just want to say we really miss you in Albany. We could have used you during the budget negotiations this year. But I think the big question that everyone has, and you're in one of these districts, are you seeing people moving from Manhattan permanently to your district? We've seen a lot of sort of relocation to upstate. Do you think this represents some opportunities for the parts of the state that are not in New York City?
Well, first off, I definitely had FOMO. I definitely missed being up in Albany during the budget. I was calling my colleagues all the time saying, what's going on now? What's going on now? But as for what's going on with people moving out of New York City, I think New York City's going to come back. I think that people are going to end up going back to work in the city, probably on a hybrid level. I think there will be a lot more people working from home, maybe 2 days a week, and then traveling into the city 3 days a week. So I think that does give an opportunity both for the people who moved up into the Hudson Valley and upstate New York, as well as the people who moved out onto Long Island, because now, like I said before, when I was talking about jobs in the district, the more time people spend in my district on Long Island, I mean, that's the more money they're spending at local businesses. That's the more restaurants that they're going to. So the local hardware store to fix up whatever project they have because they're home in time. So I think people will start going back, maybe towards the end of the year. But I do think based on people learning what they could do during this crisis, that they can work from home remotely on certain things. I think it'll be hybrid. I think 2 days a week working from home, 3 days a week in the city, which is good for both upstate New York and Long Island.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, a year and a half ago, I never heard of this Teams thing. And,
I think people are pretty zoomed out, though.
I think that's probably true. And frankly, I'm tired of leaving myself on mute too. You think after over a year doing this, I'd remember that, but I still haven't got the hang of it. So before we wrap up, let's fast forward a little bit. Like I said, it was kind of a wild start to the first 3 months anyway. 2 years from now, end of your term, how do you define success, and what are you kind of hoping to accomplish other than getting reelected?
I was going to say, hopefully in 2 years I'll be reelected. In the state assembly, the one way we always really measured success, and this is how we had to, because I was in the minority, 41 of 43 Republicans out of 150. So I didn't get to pass statewide bills. I didn't get to put my name on legislation and say and get it passed. So we always focused on constituent service. So being able to help people in the district, help people, with whatever issues they have, that is always, if we can help people, whether it be, get a vaccine, or somebody with an SBA loan, or anything, really anything. If we can help somebody with something that can make their life better, that's a success. But so that's number one. If we have great constituent service, that is definitely always a success. But if we can get, specifically for Long Island, New York, if we can get the salt deduction back, that would be great for my constituents. Mm-hmm. That really did hurt a lot of people, just because of our high income tax rate in New York and our high real property taxes and infrastructure. My district, the small businesses in my district need proper infrastructure, roads and sewers. They want to expand. They wish they could expand, but the rules of the counties and the towns don't allow them. Because we don't have the proper infrastructure. So I need to come home with the money and say, all right, we're putting in the roads, we're putting in the sewers that you need so you can grow. Yeah.
Well, that's good you touch on that, because that is, certainly in the near future, getting an infrastructure bill done is our top priority. So whatever we can do to help you back home with that, we're happy to do. And then obviously, whatever we can do to help you here in DC, navigate towards that, we'll do that too. So I think that pretty much wraps up our session today. Again, I just want to really thank you very much for taking the time to do this. I look forward to, hopefully sooner rather than later, swinging by your office so I can actually sit down with you and your staff for a few minutes anyway. And I promise not to harass you too much as you're wandering the halls of Congress, but I'm sure we'll see quite a bit of you. And Heather, thank you to you for taking the time to call in as well.
Thank you.
Everybody have a good day. Thanks all.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Heather. Nice seeing you.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.